Hello there and welcome to another week of Strategies, Tactics, and Techniques Training Tips of the Week for MMA. My name is Rich Alton, and today's video tutorial is going to go into how to address or how to define the difference between fakes and feints. In other words, fakes and feints are what we call indirect attacks. They basically come under the context of deceptions. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about today, or at least define the difference between the two and kind of give you a couple basic examples of each. And then the next video we're going to do is I'm going to go more into depth and about how to kind of do some drills and how to actually set up certain feints using your body mechanics, and then how to use fakes, and then get into what we call further all just deceptions. Now this is a subject, this is one of the 8 ways of attack, and this is the what we call indirect attack. And the indirect attacks are all attacks that you do that have to do with some kind of broken rhythm. In other words, that you're going to try to create some kind of illusion that something may or may not have occurred. And the way to go about that is it has to be done through your opponent's reactions, has to be done through how he times things, and it has to be done through kind of his his defenses and stuff, like against attacks in general. So for example, if a person uses a lot of head movement, like MMA specifically, and I start throwing let's say a jab out here like this, and he's moving his head, and and I throw, let's say I throw my rear cross, and he moves his head in here, and so I realize, okay, this guy's slipping his head back and forth in here. He's not bobbing up and down. He's not ducking. His head's going from side to side. So that kind of can play a role in how I set up my whether I choose a feint or a fake. On the other hand, if he uses more blocks and parries in here, and he starts blocking my punches, and I'm using, again, straight punches only in here, for example, right, like this, that's going to play a role in kind of difference in how I use fakes and feints, how much he reaches out in here, right? So, a lot of, in the martial arts industry, and especially in boxing, MMA, you hear a lot of coaches tell their fighters between rounds to use their feints. And that is a very vague term, because there's a general way that you can do a feint, and there's more specific ways I can do a feint. So, and a fake is something that's a lot more complex. So I'm going to go through the differences. So let's get into the feints first. A feint is any kind of body language that you apply to get a person to just react in general. In other words, what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to create an action in here like that, a sudden action that is going to see how the person responds. Now you notice when I did that in here, all I did was is I just moved my head and my leg over like this, like if I was going to throw a rear cross, or a straight left in here like that. Okay, I gave the illusion just a little bit that I was going to move that way. Okay, now it can be more specific than that, or it can be something general like this. This is the more common ways that I see feinting applies. Well, they'll drop their body weight and go like that. And when a fighter is doing that, he's trying to just use intimidation in order to get the fighter to react. And a lot of times what you see is the fighter won't respond to that when he tries to do, I'll even do it from this stance in here. We see a fighter go like this, but stomp their foot down in here. They may bring their arms out. You don't see a fighter really react that much because he doesn't really understand what that means. In other words, he doesn't feel threatened by that. Okay, and this is where this is going to get more complex. That's why I want to save the complexity for another video tutorial. So, in order for him to buy into my deception, he has to feel like it's real. He has to feel it's believable. Okay? So if I just, if I go boo, like this, he may react to that. And he may be a very scared fighter. But another person, if I go boo, just may stand there and smile at me. That means that person has much more confidence and doesn't take that into account. There's nothing that is triggering his autonomic nervous system to take that as a fight or flight response. Okay? But so for a feint in here, a feint basically is a general body action in here. And that could be using your upper body and the lower body. And it's actually pretty simple in here. But to keep it really simple for this video, if you're wanting to create a feint and actually keep it loaded for a hit, because a feint gives a punch, keeps you loaded. The difference between a feint and a fake is a fake has more specifics. So a feint would be something, if I feint with a jab in here, it would be more like this in here. Okay, my arm doesn't really leave the body mass. In other words, the grenade is not really coming out of the rocket launcher. Okay, if I feint with a front kick in here, it would be more like that. Okay, I'm just trying to get my body to kind of give the illusion that those mechanics that may represent a front kick in here, right, or a round kick in here may be happening. He may think that that's happening. Okay, but I have no intentions on trying to hit him. I'm just giving him the illusion that that may come. And when I do that in here, as opposed to just going like this doesn't really classify anything. I want him to start to feel that certain technique is coming. So if I feint with a lead hook in here and I go like this, I bring my arm out in here, right? He may feel like something's going to come in this trajectory in here like this, right? Now, if I go like this, and I'm going to take the hook again, if I go like this, that would be considered more of a fake. Okay, because what I'm doing now is instead of just pulling my body over to this side in here like this and pulling it back, I actually am extending my limb more out there, and to him, it should look like something more specific is coming. And then so what his mind should be thinking is that, oh my gosh, a linear punch is coming of some kind, and then what I do is I change direction here and come around. So a fake is more specific, right? Fake a jab, throw a hook, right? Fake right, go left, right? Fake high, go low. Okay, that's what a fake is. And a fake has more of a tendency to start to peg the guy. In other words, your limb, your weapon is going to release out there more. You're actually going to throw the fishing line off the fishing rod more. A feint kind of starts to test the water. But the real art to this is how to use those in conjunction with each other. Because sometimes you can hit people off a feint because they have no defense and they're very leery. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to combine a feint with a fake. And most of the time, that's ends up what's happening. So most of the time, what happens is if I go back to my lead hand in here and I feint with my jab like this, okay, and he starts to react to that, right, a little bit, and it starts to bother him in here. Then when I start to realize that bothers him in here, then I'm going to extend it out more. So he really picks up on this punch and thinks, oh, I got to stop this thing in here like this. And then I can decide, to change directions in here if I want to. So I could feint with a jab, feint with my lead shoulder, my lead, and my hip in here. And all I'm doing is I'm just holding and staying loaded, and I'm just here like this. Okay? So there's a big difference between just going like this and, okay, where I'm going to feint with this kick in here. I got to get my body in a position where I can release it very short in here like this. Or if I feint with my rear cross in here, I'm going to essentially, do the same thing. Drop my shoulder this way like this. Okay, like that. And if he's not buying into that motion of it, I can go into it more. So I can put more body action into it here, and then I can start actually releasing it more like this. So now I'm kind of, I'm probing with it like this, faking with it, like that. And then I can kind of, change direction in here like that. So that's more considered a fake because I'm making it go one direction and then I'm changing it the last minute to the other. Okay, that's the fake right, go left concept again. So a big difference between a fake and a feint, okay? There are advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, a feint is less committed. That's an advantage. So if I feint him and he decides to counter me, you know, here, I'm still loaded to hit, right? So if I feint and he throws a punch, I still am loaded to hit in here like this, whether I use evasion or I parry. If I do a fake is more committed in like this in here. So I want him to actually reach out for it more and then redirect it at the last second. A little more committed, a little less power initially, unless you get your body weight behind it. So one of the art forms to doing deception is not just to get the person to react, but it's also to get the person to react and put yourself in a powerful position to get to the hit. Okay, so I can do a really cheesy way and like a fake jab and a hook and go and block a little bit like this, right? Look where my arm is in here, like that. That's not really a good hit. Or I could come in around here like this and have the intent more with a more powerful technique in there. Okay, that would be a little more realistic. So you still got to have a good punch when it comes to any one of these things. Okay, so that's all I want to kind of give for today, because this is it is a complex subject, and it really takes a lot of psychological connection to connect to your opponent to determine his reactions and responses, how to set up your techniques from there. Okay, so yeah, again, I said next week we're going to do another video more specific about feints and fakes, and then go further into them more and how you can start applying them to, you know, different fighters in here or different training partners when you spar. If you found this information informative, please share it with your training partner. If you know somebody that would be helpful, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think so I can tweak the content. There's a ton of free content out there on my YouTube channel that I believe is not really offered that much to the MMA industry. A lot of similar subjects all over YouTube. I think my stuff is a little different, but not saying there's some work, but I think this has a lot more, dive down deeper into the deeper areas of MMA. Again, hope you liked it, and we'll see you next week again for the next strategy, tactic, and training tip of the week. Take care.